Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today, we have a story about a mischievous village boy whose actions led him to a near-death experience that changed his life forever. Join us as we share the story of how the boy learned an important lesson that he would never forget. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the foothills of a great mountain range, there lived a boy named Jack. Jack was a mischievous boy who always found himself in trouble. He had a habit of wandering off, stealing fruits from the trees in the fields, and generally not listening to his elders. He was always getting into fights with other children and causing disruptions in the village. Despite the best efforts of his parents and the elders of the village, Jack refused to change his ways. He would always find a way to escape their watchful eyes and continue his mischievous ways. His parents were worried about him, and his behavior was causing a great deal of stress in the village. But no matter what anyone did, Jack remained stubborn and defiant. One day, Jack saw a field full of mango trees that looked too tempting to resist. Without a second thought, he climbed up the tree and started picking the mangoes. The fruit was so sweet and juicy that Jack couldn't help but eat more and more. Suddenly, he heard a voice from behind him. "Hey! What do you think you're doing?" Jack turned around and saw an old man named Tom standing there, his eyes blazing with anger. He was the owner of the field. Jack didn't know what to say. "I was just admiring the view," he said nervously. Tom didn't believe him for a second. "You're stealing my mangoes, aren't you?" Jack tried to deny it, but he couldn't. He was caught red-handed. "You should be ashamed of yourself," Tom scolded. "You're a bad influence on the other children in the village." I was just hungry," stammered Jack. "That's no excuse for stealing," growled the old man. "Get out of here before I call the village elders." Jack climbed down from the tree. His heart was racing with fear. As he ran away from the field, he heard Tom muttering to himself, "This boy is going to get himself into trouble one day." When he reached a safe distance from the field, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. However, his mischievous nature got the better of him, and he turned around to taunt Tom. "Ha, old man! You'll never catch me!" Jack shouted, laughing and making faces at Tom. But his laughter quickly turned to shock as he saw Tom's face contort with anger. Without warning, the old man began to chase after Jack, brandishing a large stick. Jack's heart raced as he realized that he had pushed Tom too far. He sprinted through the fields, his feet pounding against the dirt. Tom was fast for his age, but Jack was younger and more agile. He darted between trees and ducked under bushes, using all his cunning to stay one step ahead of the old man. Finally, after what felt like hours, Jack emerged from the fields and onto the road that led back to the village. He stopped for a moment to catch his breath, looking back to see if Tom was still chasing him. He saw that the old man had given up the chase and was walking back to his field, muttering to himself. Jack let out a sigh of relief, realizing how close he had come to getting caught. However, he quickly pushed those feelings aside, telling himself that it was just a bit of harmless fun. Days went by and Jack continued to cause trouble. He would skip school, steal fruits, and ignore his elders. As the monsoon season arrived, the river that flowed through the forest near the village began to swell with water, turning into a powerful force that could sweep away anything in its path. The villagers warned the children to stay away from the river. One day, while wandering in the forest, Jack came across the deep and fast-moving river. He didn't realize that the river had become more dangerous due to the monsoon season. Without thinking, he waded into the river, the water quickly rising up to his shoulder. Suddenly, Jack lost his footing and was swept off his feet by the raging current. The water was so strong that he could not stand, and he struggled to keep his head above water. Panic set in, and he began to scream for help. As luck would have it, Tom was out for a walk in the forest and heard Jack's cries for help. He quickly ran to the riverbank and saw Jack struggling to stay afloat. Without hesitation, he jumped into the river and swam towards the boy. With all his strength, the old man pulled Jack to safety on the riverbank. They both collapsed onto the ground, panting and exhausted. Jack coughed and sputtered as he lay on the riverbank, grateful to be alive. Tom scolded him for not listening to the warnings and risking his life. "You're lucky I was here, kid," said Tom. "You need to be more careful. The river can be very dangerous, especially during the monsoon season." Jack looked up at Tom and saw the kindness in his eyes. He knew that he had done wrong, and felt ashamed of himself. He had put himself in danger and caused others to worry about him. "I'm sorry, sir," said Jack. "I know I've been causing trouble for everyone. I'll try to do better from now on." Tom smiled and patted Jack on the head. "That's all anyone can ask, my boy. We all make mistakes, but it's how we learn from them that matters." Jack felt a weight lifted off his shoulders. He realized for the first time that he had been hurting others and himself by his reckless behavior. From that day forward, Jack began to turn his life around. He listened to the advice of his elders, went to school, and helped out in the village whenever he could. He worked hard to make amends for his past misdeeds. And even though Jack still got into trouble from time to time, he always remembered the lesson he had learned on the riverbank that day. He knew that causing trouble only leads to trouble, and that the kindness and wisdom of others could guide him towards a better path. And that concludes our story of Jack, the mischievous village boy who learned an important lesson about listening to his elders and being responsible for his actions. We hope you enjoyed this story and learned something from it. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such stories. Thank you for listening.